Interested in making your own frame but you don't know where to start? Well, stick around. I'm going to show you a step-by-step video on how I built this custom frame for this piece of art. Hopefully this will allow you to build with more confidence as well as give you the insight that you need to build your own. Now when I start any project, I like to make sure I have a game plan or a working drawing. This will help me determine materials, hardware, and finish, as well as rough and finished dimensions of the pieces so that I can focus on creating nice, safe, and efficient cuts. With my plans in place, I can start breaking down the stock and begin the milling process. I'm going to flatten, parallel, and straighten the lumber, as well as look at grain direction and pattern, and even look at any imperfections that I want to remove from the piece. Ultimately, being able to take this rough piece of lumber to finished dimensions. Now that we've finished the milling process, now we're going to head over to the router table where we're going to add a rabbet, which is going to help house the acrylic mat board and vacuum board, which helps hold the art piece, and then as well add a 45-degree bevel chamfer on for decorative purposes. I'll be using a 3/4 inch straight bit and a 45-degree bevel chamfer for the router table. Now that we've finished up at the router table, we're going to head over to the table saw where we're going to do the miter joint. Now I have a sled and miter jig system that I've created in the past to do so. Now before I make any cuts, I'm going to lay out a reference line so I know which side to cut on to make sure I don't make any errors. Now another way to prevent that from happening is, in my case, creating 6 pieces. For the frame I only need 4, but in my case I made 6, 2 of them which are test pieces. This way I can ensure that the jig that I just set up is cutting properly and the joints are perfect. Now that we got the miter joints done, I'm going to head over to my little sanding desk right here, do a little preliminary sanding before we glue it up. Let's do this. Here we go, baby! With the initial sanding done, we're ready for glue up. Now with any glue up, we know that we have an open time with the glue before it dries. So to help alleviate that, I like to set up these 4 clamps into a dry run. That way we can ensure that when we do the final glue up, everything is in position and ready to go. With the frame all glued up, I'm going to take this miter joint and reinforce it with a spline. So now that we trim the spline, we're going to sand it and prep it for the stain. Now for this project specifically, I wanted to go with a black frame, and I've heard some good reviews online using India ink, so I want to give that a try. I did a test piece with the mahogany using the India ink, and it looks great in terms of bringing out the grain pattern as well as getting that nice dark finish. Alright, so now we're ready for clear coat.
Oh, look at that.
Oh my god. We waited 72 hours, we've got the India ink on here, we've cleaned the surfaces, now we're ready for clear coat. Now in my case, I like to stick with this fast drying polyurethane. It's worked great for me in the past. It's not too bad, not too expensive. You pick it up at Lowe's or Home Depot. We'll probably put 2 to 3 coats for the initial. We're going to lightly sand with 400-600 wet dry sandpaper, and then apply at least 2 to 3 more coats after that. I think then we'll have a nice buildup of protection and finish, and then we'll finish it off with a little bit of 600-800 grit wet dry sandpaper and some paste wax. Also, anytime that I'm applying a finish, I always like to start with the edges. The reason we like to do this is because any overspray that shoots past the edge that gets onto the flat surfaces that we'll be seeing, hopefully be able to eliminate by starting with the edge. So we'll spray with the edge and then spray the flats for the final pass. That way we get a nice, great looking finish on the top. Now that I've had the finish dry at least 72 hours, I've applied at least 3 coats of gloss polyurethane finish, as well as 2 coats of satin. Now I'm going to use a paste wax. You don't have to use a paste wax. I just like the finish and sheen that the paste wax gives, a little bit of protection as well. And then we're going to add the hardware. All right, so now we're going to start applying the paste wax. Now I like to have these like little microfiber towels. You can pick them up at your local hardware store. And I'm going to start applying the finish in a circular motion. Now, I might be wrong, but I've always found that after I apply in kind of in a circular motion, I like to then wipe with the grain to ensure that I've had issues in the past where I left this wax and I didn't actually wipe it on with the grain, and then it actually shows up when you start to buff it out, kind of the swirl marks, as opposed to if you follow the grain. So just something to keep in mind. I might be wrong, but that's just the experience that I've had in the past. For any of you who don't know what this art piece is specifically, it's the Doolittle Raid. It's a beautiful art piece that's signed by the men that flew on that day. If you guys are interested in learning more about that, make sure to check in my description below. I'll give you guys a little bit more information on the historical background of the piece. Thought a cool way to honor this art piece also is to show some stock footage of the actual event back in World War II. So check it out, guys.
And now the signal is flashed for the takeoff, 10 hours ahead of schedule. The added distance to be flown increases the hazards. But there is no hesitation. They man their planes. Doolittle pilots the lead plane. There's a breathless moment as the big bomber gathers speed. It's airborne. The first Army bomber ever to be launched from a carrier is safely in the air.